one development that's taking place in the United States that I think is going to have an impact for all of our retirements and our investment results is something that very few people are talking about. And that is the aging demographic in the U.S., but as importantly, maybe more importantly, is the decrease in growth rate. And what does this mean for us? I'm going to start off talking about Social Security because that's the obvious one. But then I'm going to talk about some other areas that I think we all need to be aware of. Okay, so what is this decreasing population growth rate? So in the 1960s, the average woman had 3.6 children. And now that's down to 1.6 children. So in a fairly short period of time, really in one generation, the population growth rate has decreased by 50%. The average number of children that we have has decreased by over 50%. And that has enormous impacts. And we're not talking about it enough. So let's start off with Social Security because that's the obvious one. So in 1940, according to the Peterson Foundation, the average Social Security recipient, there were 42 people working for every one person that was collecting Social Security. Guess what that is now as of 2022? That's less than 3 people working for every recipient. It's 2.8 people working. And the Peterson Foundation estimates by 2050, that's going to drop to only 2 people working for every one person that gets their Social Security benefits. The other thing is we're living longer, which, for me, I want to live longer. Obviously, we all do. And in 1960, once you reach the age of 65, you had about 15 years of average life expectancy. And now we have 20 years. So these have big impacts, not just on our Social Security, but on other aspects. So let me first talk from a personal standpoint what the impact is. Now, so from a personal standpoint, just because we're living longer doesn't mean that we have more years to enjoy our retirement. In fact, in the U.S., yes, our average life expectancy has increased, but our average healthy lifespan is actually decreasing. And according to the World Health Organization's most recent report, in the United States, the average American's healthy life expectancy before they have a major health issue, cancer, stroke, heart attack, something like that, is just 66.1 years old. So that's 13 months past when the average person retires. And once you have a major health issue, you can't be doing things like, here I'm in Guatemala, I'm on Lake Atitlan, which is the largest lake in all of Central America. It's a gorgeous place, but if I had a heart issue, I'm a long way from someplace that could give me the support, the health treatment that I would need. So this decreasing world population, and more importantly for us here in the U.S., the decreasing U.S. population growth, not only is it impacting Social Security, but think about what has happened to the growth rate in real estate and the growth rate that we've seen in the stock market. And this is a major world change with the decreasing population. So are there going to be fewer people competing for houses? Certainly in the short term, no. What we're seeing is increased demand. We're seeing a shortage of affordable housing. And the key word there is being affordable. When my father was at the age where he was buying his first house, the average American, if you looked at their total wages, the average American could buy the average home for about 2 to 3 years worth of their wages. And now that number in the U.S. is closer to 6. And that has a dramatic impact. But part of that has been just the increase in demand as the population has exploded, right? I'm kind of between the Gen X population generation and the Boomer generation, but the Boomers are called the Boomers for a reason, right? There was this population growth that now has slowed down. And what's the impact going to be for our kids when they're our age? What's the demand for housing going to be, and what's the solution for their Social Security going to be? I don't know. And in Social Security's case, that obviously has a short-term impact that we're seeing right now. In fact, they're saying that the U.S.'s Social Security Trust Fund is going to run out of assets in less than 10 years. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not going to get Social Security, but what it does mean is there's a shortfall between the taxes that are being received in and the benefits that are being paid out. And when we had 40 workers for every person collecting Social Security, we had this surplus. And so that went into the Social Security Trust Fund that unfortunately now is depleted or is soon to be depleted. And the current taxes can only pay 70 to 80% of those benefits. So I think that the decrease in U.S. Growth rate is going to have an impact not just on Social Security, but also on real estate and potentially on the stock market, right? Because growing stock prices relies ultimately on companies becoming more valuable over time because they're increasing their earnings. And if there's a decreasing population, if there's a decreasing group that can buy the goods and services from companies, that's going to be a meaningful headwind that everybody is going to have to deal with. So what does this mean for you and I? First off, I just want to share that, the world can change, and sometimes it changes quickly, and sometimes it changes so slowly over a long period of time, which is what this decreasing population leads to. That's something that, nobody, frankly, should be surprised by that, because this is all publicly available information. And we've seen since 1920, there were 1 in 20 people in the U.S. were over the age of 65, and in 2020, it's 1 in 6 is over the age of 65. That shouldn't surprise anybody. That data's been available every 5 years from the Census Bureau for the last 100 years. So the world has a way of changing both slowly and then also quickly. And in both of those cases, we have to be prepared for that. And the way the average person protects themselves and prepares for that is by having the right asset allocation in their investment accounts, right? This is not financial advice. I don't know your situation, but most people, we cannot afford to have all of our money just sitting in the bank, really not working for us. On the other hand, as we get older, most of us, many of us, it does not make sense for us to have all of our money in the stock market, which could, as I record this, the stock market's up over 30% in the last 12 months. That's the good news. But anything that can go up by 30% in 12 months can also go down by 30% in 12 months. So few people my age want to see their net worth decrease by 1/3 in a 12-month period. So getting that right. So what do we do? What does this decreasing growth rate in the U.S. mean to all of us? It means that, we have to have our asset allocation right, and we have to stay up to date on these major trends that could be impacting us. And hopefully we can get ourselves in a situation where we've saved enough money in the past that we have that foundation where we don't have to take too much risk in order to achieve our goals. And speaking of retirement, it's why I made this video up here that talks about why retiring at 65 might be a big mistake for some people. Thanks for watching this video.